Hey guys, welcome back to the Frontline. Come in the cabin, pull up a chair. I don't know about you, but ever since I discovered what we discovered last week, it has been very difficult to be at peace. A few years ago, I used to live in Virginia, and I had a neighbor who had shingles. I heard a grown man cry. I'll never forget it. My neighbor was a senior, and I could hear him cry through my wall. I could just remember saying to myself, I never want to get that, and afraid that I would. I had chicken pox when I was a kid. It's a herpetic virus. I've had Epstein-Barr. I had it reactivate a few years back. That's a herpetic virus. I never imagined that in my spine is hiding something that has enmity with me. I look at this picture, guys, and this is an artist's drawing of Adam and Eve in the garden, picking from the tree of good and evil, right? Let's say the knowledge, right? And I got a picture of that up in the background. It's the tree. You see Eve. She has a fruit in her hand, and you see what we now know as a worm. To me, this tree reminds me of our lungs, and the trunk of it looks like a spine. They say that it lies dormant, that the shingles is a result of a virus you caught as a kid that lies dormant in your spine, specifically your sacral region. Doesn't that sound familiar, guys? Doesn't your sacral region sound like sacred? What has the Torah been telling us? Let's go to that script, guys. The scripture we saw last week. It's right here. Genesis 3:14 through 15. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The Creator blamed the serpent right here. The Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed. What is this enmity, guys? Let me show you something. That article we read last week told us that a virus is a parasite, right, guys? Let me show you why I haven't been able to sleep. Facts about the common cold. How many of those have you had in your life? I've had a few. Let's read about the cold. What is a cold? Colds are minor infections of the nose and throat caused by more than 200 different viruses. Rhinovirus is the most common cause, accounting for 10 to 40% of colds. Other common cold viruses include, now right, this word is a word I'm not going to be able to say if I want to keep recording and putting things out for you guys. No, my channel is not monetized and it never will be. So skip that one and we're going to go to the next two ones. We'll start here. Other common cold viruses include blank and respiratory syncytial which is RSV. A cold may last for about 1 week, but some colds last longer, especially in children, the elderly, and those in poor health. In the United States, colds account for more visits to the doctor than any other condition. Adults get an average of 2 to 4 colds per year, mostly between September and May. Young children suffer from an average of 6 to 8 colds per year. Colds are highly contagious. They most often spread when droplets of fluid that contain a cold virus are transferred by touch. These droplets may also be inhaled. What do you think is in those droplets, guys? Right here. What is in those droplets? Is that your worm being shared? Common cold symptoms. Between 1 and 3 days after a cold virus enters the body, symptoms start developing such as runny nose, congestion. I don't need to read all of that because we all know what we've suffered. It's right there. How many of those have you had in your life? It says here, is it a cold or the flu? Symptoms of the flu are similar to the common cold, but they last longer and tend to be worse. Infants and young children are more likely than adults and teens to develop a fever. Smokers usually have more severe symptoms than non-smokers. I wonder why, guys. You know what those fruits look like right there to me? That looks like the worm biting at your lungs. Let's keep going. Over-the-counter medication can provide temporary relief of symptoms and should be used as soon as you feel a cold coming. It says here you should use acetaminophen. All lies. All lies. None of this is going to help. Not a darn thing right here is going to help you with your... It's going to temporarily relieve those symptoms, but it's not going to help you, honey. It says right here, pains may worsen. It may worsen your asthma or what does it say? Peptic ulcers, guys. Listen, you take acetaminophen so that you don't feel the pain of your worm. You take aspirin so that you don't feel the pain of what's inside of you, eating you from the inside out. You take ibuprofen so that you don't feel it. This is what the medical profession has done. You go in there and you tell them, hey, I feel pain. And they give you something so you don't feel the pain. Not kill what's inside of you, giving you the pain. Trust me, they know. Lex has told y'all. They know. I have told you. They know. You think they don't know this is inside of you? I heard Joe say in Lex's most recent episode that animals get wormed a couple of times a year. And that's very true. And I don't remember ever worming, guys. I never made it a part of my maintenance. Instead, you know what I did? I felt pain. I took ibuprofen. I felt pain. I took acetaminophen. I didn't try to kill that worm inside of me. I took what allowed me to feel complacent with the worm inside of me. It says here it's used to relieve aches and pains, right? People with asthma should not take these medications pregnant women should check with their healthcare provider. Yeah. I want y'all to pay attention to this last paragraph right here. There are no antiviral medications available for treating the common cold. Right here. You don't treat your cold. Never in life have we treated a cold. If we were treating a cold, we'd be killing the parasites inside of us. Instead, I ran off to get Alka-Seltzer Plus. I ran off to get Theraflu. I ran off to get Robitussin. All that did was allow those worms to run rampant inside of me and reproduce. Guys, that is the horror of this. These parasites have to reproduce inside of you. That is the enmity. And every cold you got, you remember that article we read? The bacteria form 15 times faster. Viruses, bacteria, parasites. Fungus is a parasite. Any yeast infection you've had, I was a parasite, guys. It says here, antibiotics are not useful for treating a cold and should not be taken to treat bacterial complications that arise from it. Okay, guys? Sounds like the antibiotics shouldn't even be taken for any bacterial infection. What is a parasite, guys? A bacteria, a virus, a fungus, a plant, an animal. Remember? So what did the antibiotic treat? Remember, we're finding out that they killed all of the good, so-called good bacteria in your stomach. What did it treat? Guys, I don't even want to know. For any upper respiratory infection that I've taken an antibiotic for, I don't even want to know what that was supposed to be doing for me. It did nothing. Let's go to another article, guys, because you're going to be amazed at what else I found. Now that you know that every cold was a worm, let's keep moving. Now you know what kind of enmity you've been at war with. What's been going on inside of your body. It cannot compare, guys. You weren't ready to conceive of this. Neither was I. I was not ready to conceive that my enemy was inside of me. Check this out, guys. Check out what those worms inside of you are doing. So one thing you guys don't know about me is my background is mental health. I have provided years. 10 years of that was to support people with intellectual disabilities. The other 10 years of that was in mental health. My last position in mental health, I was director of psychosocial rehab services, guys. I had a van that came down every other week with clients who were in GRI. That stands for not guilty by reason of insanity. I had 50 clients daily with an SMI diagnosis. That's serious mental illness diagnosis. I did this for 10 years. An inside joke, guys, when we would see a flare-up in psychotic symptoms, the first thing we would say to each other was there a full moon last night? And I kid you not, 9 out of 10 we would be right. There was something linked to this full moon. And when I discovered this parasite, guys, I had my suspicions. Let's keep going. Studies suggest suicide rates are higher during the week of a full moon. For centuries, people have suspected a full moon in the sky to cause mysterious changes in people. Now psychiatrists at Indiana University School of Medicine have found death by suicide increased during the full moon. Guys, I hadn't even made that connection. I had no idea that there was a link to suicide increased during the full moon. I knew that there was a link to mental health, psychiatric disorders increasing during the full moon. Let's keep going, guys. I forgot to say fair use. Fair use for the purposes of education and criticism. All right, let's keep going. Why did these people study this? Let's find out. We wanted to analyze the hypothesis that suicides are increased during the period around full moons and determine if high-risk patients should be followed more closely during those times. The team, we're going to start right here. The team looked at data from the Marion County Coroner's Office in Indiana about suicides that took place from 2012 to 2016. They found deaths by suicide significantly increased during the week of the full moon, with people over age 55 showing an even higher increase. They also looked at the time of day and months that suicide took place, finding 3 to 4 p.m. and the month of September to be peak times for suicide. Guys, a lot of my clients would tell me, especially if they suffered from bipolar disorder, that they suffered from visual and auditory hallucinations. Now, I don't want to get into too much back and forth about what I believe that is, because I don't need YouTube trying to shut me down and saying I'm giving misinformation. But you use your imagination on this one. If something's inside of you and you so-called suffer from a disorder and you're suffering from auditory hallucinations, those are hallucinations where you hear someone talking to you. What could that possibly be? Let's talk about visual hallucinations. Those are things where you're seeing things. My clients would report these things to me, guys. I don't know if I'm ready to dismiss them now. Check this out, guys. Parasites. Why your symptoms are heightening around the full moon. I had, before we get too far, I had someone ask me, hey, what do I do to get rid of these parasites? And I reminded them that Lex Will had a worming video, and I think they should watch that. Here's some other stuff that I found too, guys. I'm going to keep digging. The more that I dig, the more I'm going to bring to the front line, guys, okay? Parasites, why your symptoms are heightening around the full moon. Guys, we need to start keeping a journal. A sleep journal, an eat journal, and a bathroom journal, guys. You're going to need all of that to fight this enmity. Because the only way to recognize if you've got symptoms is to start cataloging that. Catalog what you ate. Catalog what your sleep was like. Catalog how many times you went to the bathroom for the day. I personally want to do what's called a hard water fast. But like Joe said, you can't try to kill these things off and get real gung-ho, because what's going to wind up happening is you're going to make yourself very sick because of the large amount of die-off that's going to be in your system from having killed these parasites. You're going to have to do this in phases, guys. But what I'm seeing about these crime rates and suicide rates and mental health rates all increasing around the full moon raised my suspicions. And I'm glad they did, because when I started doing my research, I wanted to know, is there a connection? What was I seeing? What was my staff seeing around the full moon? And I found a link, guys. I'm not surprised. Check it out. Are you experiencing more inflammation? We're right here, guys. Let me highlight it so you'll know. Are you experiencing more inflammation, bloating, headaches, fatigue, insomnia, craving, and that's craving sugar, guys. They're just going to put craving here, but it's really more like a lot of gluten and a lot of sugar is what I'm seeing. Do you have joint and muscle pain around the full moon? A parasitic infestation may be the reason why. Let's take a look at the interrelation of parasites and the full moon. Everything in nature has cycles, including the moon. It goes from the new moon, meaning no visible moon, to the full moon. The ocean's tides rise and fall in time with the moon's phases. The human body is 70% water, and it reacts to gravitational forces. Many people experience changes in their behavior every month around the full moon, like joint pain, restless nights, moodiness, to only name a few. One underlying reason, we're right here, might be that parasites are thriving now as their life cycle has them reproducing at night during this time. Guys, all of these folk tales that we saw about the full moon and werewolves and vampires and all of this great shit, they've got a show called, they had a movie called The Nightcrawler. Guys, this is when they are reproducing. Specifically, they like this time. Let's keep reading. What causes the changes around the full moon? There are two main things that cause changes in our body: hormonal changes and parasites. So first they're going to start with melatonin. Melatonin, which is a neurotransmitter that helps you sleep, as well as controlling your immune system, naturally drops during full moon. So these creatures know that your immune system's off guard. So they come out. Lower melatonin levels make the immune system more vulnerable and not as good in fighting off pathogens, aka you have less immune defense against parasites. Parasites are smart critters. Take advantage of this and become more active. On the other hand, serotonin levels increase during the full moon. So you have a drop in melatonin, which means your immune system is off guard, okay, guys? So they recognize this as an opportunity. These are opportunistic creatures, guys. All right, so when the serotonin levels drop or rise, let's see what happens. On the other hand, serotonin levels increase during the full moon. Serotonin is known as our happy hormone, as it plays an important role in regulating our mood, feelings of well-being, and happiness. Parasites are attracted to serotonin. 90% of the body's serotonin is made in the digestive tract. This enables parasites, which have serotonin receptors, to steal your serotonin. Without serotonin, parasites are paralyzed. Access to higher serotonin levels during full moons allow parasites to reproduce. What does the serpent have to do, guys? It has to reproduce. The serotonin allows them to communicate with each other, eat more, which makes them more resilient, move more freely. Parasites are known for their overnight activity, which is highly elevated during full moon. They'll be able to create biofilm in which they hide and live in. Biofilm formation protects the parasite from the body's inherent defenses and is the reason why it, in many cases, is difficult to detect parasites on a stool test or blood work when it's not been busted. Parasites are extremely stealthy and are experts at hiding in the body. Once they find you, they don't want to leave. Do you hear that? Once they find you, they don't want to leave. The longer the parasitic infection, the more territory they'll assume and more severe symptoms they'll cause. As parasites take your serotonin, so remember guys, they come out, melatonin's low, serotonin's high. They're coming out because your defenses are down, but you have a whole lot more of the food they like to eat, which is your serotonin. Remember, guys, your serotonin is affecting your happiness. Where is it at? Your serotonin is affecting your happiness, it says, your feelings of well-being right here, and your mood. They're eating that up. Let's go back down to it. As parasites take your serotonin, we're right here. This signals that the body eat more in order to create more of the neurotransmitter. Guess what is the preferred fuel? Sugar. High carbohydrate foods, processed junk foods, and alcohol. Right here, guys. Everything they feed us. Everything go to any fast food restaurant, go to all of the supermarkets, this is your diet right here. That's why Dr. Sebi was curing everything, because it was what we were putting in our mouths that was feeding this thing. It says, you will eat this, your body will process it, it will turn to sugar in your gut, and the parasites will come out to feed. And on a full moon, they get to have more fun. They get to reproduce and steal your serotonin to do so. Parasites feed off of sugar. Right here, guys. Right here. Which explains why a parasitic infection causes you to crave more of the above mentioned foods. These are the most commonly flaring symptoms with parasites' increased activities around the full moon. So this is why you guys want to have a log, because you're going to want to see if these are some of the symptoms you're experiencing. Okay, guys? Let's go through them. Difficulty falling and staying asleep. I get that. I haven't cataloged if it's around the full moon, but I would not be surprised. Increased feelings of fatigue, migraines, headaches, heart palpitations. That's anxiety, guys. Feeling depressed, anxious, spike in emotions, uncomfortable craving for alcohol and sugar, increased muscle, joint pain in the body, GI issues like severe diarrhea, severe bloating, severe constipation, flare-ups of skin rashes, teeth grinding, waking up with a sore joint, and anal itching. As parasites are coming out of their hiding place during the full moon, these days are especially effective in eradicating those unwanted guests with a targeted protocol. So guys, this article is telling you that yes, you need to attack these things, but you should definitely incorporate a full moon calendar and be, I don't know if, listen, let's think about the virus chickenpox, guys. The virus chickenpox, you catch it. I caught it as a kid. I want to say I was about 8 to 9 years old, guys. I think I was in 3rd grade. It went dormant inside my body, is what they told me. It's hiding in my sacral region of my spine. And as a result of that, let's go to that main page where I have that photo. It's hiding in my spine, guys, the tree trunk. As a result of that, when I reach in my 50s, which is about a good couple of years from now, not a lot, about 9 years from now, I could theoretically get shingles. This thing is hiding in my body. I have a specific worm hiding in my body, waiting to come out at about the time I turn 55 years old. I was on the phone with Joe and Lex and my sister. Shout out to Nakia, because she sent that text message to Lex, and we're here now, guys. And Lex said something to me that really shook me to my core. He said, think about how long the Creator marched the Israelites around the wilderness, sweating them out, right? They must have had this. He knew, our Creator knew that this monster creature was inside of them. I have that inside of me, waiting for me to turn 55, guys, to come out of its hiding place. I'm not waiting for that. I told you I heard a grown man cry. I don't ever want to cry like that in my life. I'm going to close on this, guys. And every week I'm going to bring you more and more research. And I'm going to let you know what I'm finding. I literally found the serpent the Friday before last. So I'm digging every day, guys, to get more and more answers, guys. And I encourage you all to do the same. I mean, send me some of your research. If you're finding something that you want me to share with the tribe, and you're finding something specific about these parasites, send it to Lex, send it to me, send it to Joe, my sister Uniferous. Send it to somebody, guys, because we got to get this information out. Guys, I need you to catch up on some of my videos, okay, to see what I'm talking about when I tell you guys that Adam was struck with a Y death. It's called Y degradation. The Y chromosome is dying, and it was a result of what happened in the garden, guys. I want you guys to pay attention. I went into Isaiah 66 and 23 to 24 because when we discovered that it was a worm, it reminded me of seeing that word in the Torah specifically in certain different places. So they played games with us. They removed serpent. They removed the word worm where it would have mattered and put serpent there and put worm in other passages, guys, to kind of trick your mind to think, oh, that's a serpent and that's a worm, when it was one and the same. You guys went on the etymology study with me. I showed you it was one and the same. I decided to do some Torah hunts for the word worm, and look what we came with. I knew this looked familiar, guys. I told you something is coming for the men. I'm going to read this passage for you guys. Isaiah 66, 23 to 24. This is the KJV. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have just transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. I want you guys to catch up on the Y degradation. It's sounding like something is connected, guys, along with this parasite, to that Y degradation. These things are eating us from the inside out. As promised, guys, I'm going to keep digging. But this is our enmity. And guess what? Looks like during a full moon, we deal with a serious one. They're reproducing. They're eating you. And they're inside of you. I'm sorry to tell you guys. Much love from the Frontline. It's your girl, Shamar.